Welcome, everyone. Today's webinar is on what's new in Totara 10. So thank you for joining us. My name is Dr. Tammy Frame, and I'm the Chief Education Officer. This is my contact information. We are recording today's webinar. If you signed up, you will receive a link with the recording. And if you weren't able to join us today, you will get this as well. If you have any follow-up questions that you didn't think of during the webinar or you couldn't attend live, feel free to email me and we'll try to get you answers. I just want to say a little bit about EClass for Learning. We are a full e-learning solutions provider. So we do a ton of different things to help organizations with their e-learning. We have a number of LMSs that we support. Today we are doing Totara Learn. We help with course development if people need that. We do have instructional designers on staff that can help. We also do SCORM packages with Articulate Storyline and have specialized on that and can help with that. We can do professional development on best practices for e-learning. We can help with e-commerce solutions. We do hosting. We can help you market and sell your courses online, and we can also train you on how to use any of our tools. Today we're using Zoom as our platform, and there should be an area in Zoom where you can submit questions, and I really encourage that. There's quite a bit new in Totara 10, and depending on time, I will try and answer as much as those as possible. But if we don't get all of the questions answered, I may have to send them in an email if they get too much, because I do want to end within the hour. So we'll see how that goes. But please ask questions. I think even if I don't know the answer, we learn a lot from each other and through the questions. And if you do know the answer to something somebody's answered, feel free to add that as well. Okay. So with that, I'm going to actually move to Totara here and open up my demo site so that you can see. I've got my notes here. 99% of what I'm going to share, I have a very helpful link that I'll put in the email from Totara that has much more detailed documentation on each feature. I think that there's 1% of things that I'll be sharing that aren't in the documentation that we've sort of learned the hard way. So we hope by sharing those things that weren't so well documented that we make the transition to Totara 10 a little less painful and easier for you. So I'll be pointing those out as well. Okay, and again, put questions in the side panel as you have them. So first of all, one thing that you might notice is in the documentation, there's been a change in the name of Totara. It used to be Totara LMS, now it's being called Totara Learn, and that is their LMS, it's not something separate. The next important thing to know is that how you install Totara has changed. And I'm going to read right out of the documentation, and this would be important for your network administrator to know. And in that link that I'll send to you, this is documented for them as well. But it says any install of the latest version of Totara 10 will now need to have the Intel PHP extension, as this is now required, and previously it was only recommended. Additionally, having MySQL configured with the MySQL large prefix is now recommended. Now, I'm not a network administrator, so this makes more sense to our network staff, but I believe this has to do with how the data is stored. And in version 9, this was highly recommended, but in 10, this is the only way that you can do it. So that's good for them to know before trying to do an upgrade. There's also detailed in the documentation that I'll send instructions on how to upgrade. So that will be important for the network people. We're going to kind of start with the site admin things that are new first, and then move down to the course things for instructional designers that are new. If you are new to Totara, and I know we have a number of people that are in that boat, we won't be going feature by feature of what is in Totara. It's really designed to talk about what's new in this latest version. But because I do know that there are a number of people that are brand new to Totara that signed up today, I'll kind of try to explain what it is we're talking about, what the feature does. Because most of these changes take existing things that are already in Totara 10 and just adds additional functionality to it. Probably things that were requested by the Totara community, and it makes these new features a little bit easier for things people are trying to accomplish. Another lesson learned that isn't so well documented that I think is really important is to understand about the change to the Totara theme in Totara 10. Now, if you're new to Totara, that's not a big deal. You'll start with the new theme. But if you've put a lot of work and effort into one of your existing themes, it's likely they will no longer work in Totara 10. So what you might want to do is strategize before you do the upgrade. What we've done with our clients is create a sandbox for a lot of them. We've done the upgrade there, and then we've worked with the theme to make it look like their other theme, and then put the settings in when we did the actual upgrade. So that might be a good strategy if you're worried about your theme. So in the old versions, there was Totara Responsive, Custom Totara Responsive, and Kiwi Fruit. Those have all been removed in Totara 10. Sort of hidden in the documentation, they had been saying that would happen sometime in the future. Well, now it's happened. So now what is available is the basis theme. And that's what I have here. The basis theme is just a really clean, out of the box kind of white looking theme. And one of the reasons that Totara made this change is that moving from Bootstrap 2 to 3, there were a number of conflicts. And so that's why they made the decision to make the basis theme that will work in the newest version of Bootstrap. And another tip about this, it's a fairly straightforward theme that you'll want to know is when we looked at it, it looked pretty basic, right? So we took, we often use CSS as a way to customize our themes, and I've used a little CSS in this basis theme to get my colors and things the way that I want them, to increase the size of the header and so on. And you can't just copy your CSS from an old theme, like custom Totara responsive, let's say, to basis. It won't work. And the reason is the elements, a lot of the elements that you might have used in your CSS for the other theme are called something different in the basis theme. And so it doesn't quite work. And there's not a ton of documentation, but it isn't too hard to figure out either. And we have figured it out. So if you need help with your themes, that is one of the services we provide. And we'd be happy to help you out with that if you need. So just be aware if you're thinking about upgrading and you've got a theme that you've invested a lot into, you might want to think about how you're going to make the upgrade work, knowing that your existing theme settings aren't going to come over. So again, I think that's one of the 1% things that's really important to know. One thing I just want to stop and just kind of check in. Are you able to see everything on my screen and hear me okay. Zoom is a new platform for us, and I just want to see if that's working. Yes, okay, thanks, Charity. Thanks, Sean. Okay, just it would be a shame if I kept talking and people didn't know what I was saying. Okay. Another thing from the site admin that's important is that there is a new authentication method, and that's called self-registration with approval. Okay, and so that means that people can self-register for the site, but a site manager or somebody with the correct permissions, and the permissions are in the, and how to do that are in the documentation, would have to approve that they can in fact enter the site. So that's great for security and things like that. The site administrator has to turn that on. So to do that, you go to Site Admin, and you would go to Plugins. Okay, and then under here, Authentication, and Manage Authentication. Now you'll see self-registration for approval on mine already because I turned it on. If it's turned off, it won't be there. And so you click there. And these are all the different ways that we can have different authentication ways that we can authenticate users. And that's one of the things I like about Totara, is it's very flexible and can talk to a lot of other systems, and a lot of it is because you can turn these things on and off. So if you decide that you want to do self-registration with approval, you have to go to the I and enable that. Okay, so that's new. That didn't exist before. There's one very similar that did exist called email-based self-registration. It's easy to confuse those. Obviously, this one means that they need approval. In the documentation that I'll send you is a very nice workflow diagram of how that works. So basically what happens is you can apply. Then what happens is they get a validation email to validate their email. Then the people with the correct permissions are alerted and they can approve them. And then I believe they get one more email saying, hey, you're approved, you can get in now. So that is new and I think very useful. The next thing is audiences for courses and programs. So if you're new to Totara, you can push out learning by setting up different audiences. Let's say I set up an audience for all new employees. And when somebody's added to that, it could be dynamic or it could be set up like statically. They're automatically sent to that course or enrolled. Well, in the old version, this was pretty annoying because if I were to check that that worked and go to the course and look at the course roster, the people weren't really added to the course roster until they actually clicked on the course and started it. So they would say launch course and it would show up in their dashboard, but they, for the teacher, didn't show up in the log yet. Now they automatically are added to that course log, even if they haven't logged into the platform or the course yet. So then you can get an accurate listing of who should be in it. And then just know that that enrollment occurs for whenever you have cron set to run, okay? So I think that's a big improvement too. Another thing that's different, and I think an improvement, is what's called the recycle bin. In the past, the site administrator could set up course backups, and this is actually kind of replacing that and making it a little more granular. And the reason that you want course backups, actually there's two types of backups, obviously, that you want. You want a site backup on a remote server every single 24 hours at least, and that's what we do as a practice in our hosting. I haven't moved on from the auth plugins page yet. I'm just talking about the recycle bin and then I'll show it. But thank you. Thanks for kind of queuing and making sure that everything's working. And the reason that you want to back things up is sometimes people could trash accidentally a quiz, like delete it. Or they could accidentally delete their course, because course admins have a lot of rights, and they can accidentally get rid of things that they didn't mean to get rid of. So if you didn't do course backups, what would happen is you could probably get that back from restoring the whole site, but that moves everybody back to wherever you last did your site backup. So having more granular backups really helps. And so now in this recycle bin, the first thing that you have to do is you have to enable it. And so it may not be, I think they said the default was that it should be enabled, but when I went to my demo site, it was not. So you might want to check this because you might have had course backups set up, and now with the new one, you might be assuming that's happening and it's not. And so you'll want to definitely, when you upgrade, check this out. And so you go to plugins, and then you go to admin tools, and then you want to go to recycle bin. Let's see, manage, let's see, admin tools. Let me try. Oh, I don't want authentic. Let's try. There it is. I just didn't see it. Okay, so recycle bin. Okay, so mine were unchecked, and when you're a site admin in Totara, check means yes, unchecked means no. It's not like this complicated reverse logic. So I now have them both enabled. And these kind of go one level below. So if I have the course recycle bin set up, and that means that it will also back up each activity, and I could bring back just a simple activity and not the whole course if I wanted, which is new, and so that's kind of useful. So if I trashed a quiz and I want it back, I don't have to restore my whole class. I can get the quiz back, and I can decide how often this, how long it will remain in the recycle bin. And obviously, the more often you do it, the more space it's going to take on your server, so that's a consideration. And then this next one is the category recycle bin, and that restores all courses within a category, okay? And how often should those that were deleted remain in the recycle bin. So this really helps protect things. And so if people accidentally get rid of something, it used to be somewhat of a lot of work to get it back. Now it's much easier. So let's say somebody did do that and you want to get it back. What you can do is it's under Site Admin, Courses, Manage Courses and Categories. And it took me a little bit to figure out where's the recycling bin. So I figured out, with a little help from Seth, that it is under, when you are in the courses, the managing categories and courses, now in the category miscellaneous, there's a little new admin block, and you can click on recycle bin. And that shows everything that's been backed up, and you can restore directly from here. So that's a lot easier to get things back that people might have accidentally deleted. So that's really nice. Okay, let me just see how we're doing. Okay. The next one is a simple change to the profile. It's now easier to get your internal messages through the system. So messages appears up when you click on your icon, and you can see real quickly and message people in your contacts and it actually looks a little bit nicer. So that's another little change. The next things have to do with performance assessments. So Totara does have a number of HR tools built in. One of them is the 360 feedback tool. And I'm just gonna go to one that goes here. And now there's an option. What the 360 feedback tool does is it organizes all of that. If you're familiar with the 360 feedback process, it's a process where maybe as part of my evaluation, I could send out a survey, usually created by the organization, on how I did, let's say on a certain project, and I could determine I could ask different people in the organization or out of the organization that worked on it to give feedback, and my manager could see that as well. And I could say that the feedback is either anonymous, or I could see who said what. The site admin can lock that down as you want to. Well, now the site admin can also say if the person can do a self-evaluation too, which I think could be useful in a lot of scenarios. And so I clicked that when I was setting up my 360-degree feedback, and it allows this button then to evaluate. And you can have that as optional, or no self-evaluation, or mandatory self-evaluation. So that's a new feature in the 360 feedback thing. Likewise, you can do appraisals, and I have some set up for me, but I'm actually going to go back here and show in the setup. There is now more capabilities for the types of notifications and customizing those notifications that people might get in the appraisal process. So Totara allows people to do performance reviews and automates that, and it's kind of a blank template. It's almost sort of like a survey. You can set up the tools, you can set up how often, you can assign who's going to fill those out and when, and have all of that tracked. Well, you might want to have different notifications, like appraisal coming due to the manager, like you need to do this, you need to fill out the review on the person, or maybe the person needs to self-review or turn things in. And all of that can be set up and managed in the system, but you might want to also manage what kinds of notifications to remind people, or make them more personal or more to your organization. So again, to do this, you can go to your site admin, and then, let's see, let me look at my notes here. We want to go to appraisals, there it is, and manage appraisals. And if I go to my settings on the one that I have set up, there's a tab called messages. Okay, and let's see, preview. I don't know if I'll get to see that from here. When you're setting it up, mine is live, so I don't think I can change it at this point. You can now add what are called placeholders. So that's sort of like the mail merge. So you can say dear, and then brackets, first name, and then comma. You have been asked to do brackets, name of appraisal, bracket, and it'll mail merge the correct information. In the documentation that I'll be sending you, it will have a whole list of placeholders. They're basically things that you can mail merge into your personalized messages as part of the appraisal process. And those placeholders didn't exist before, and now they do. So that makes it even more personal. Okay. Next thing we're going to talk about is changes to the dashboard. And one of them is just a real simple one. This shows me that this is my current learning, and it's called the current learning block. And this block means it's a standalone course. This means it's a program with only one course in it. And in the past, you would click on a program and it would take you to the program kind of screen, and then you could launch the course. But if you have a program with only one course, that's one extra click that's sort of annoying. So you can actually just click on it and go directly to the course now. So they've made that a little more usable for the end user. Okay, so that's another improvement. The other one that I think course designers are going to like is a new block called the featured link block. So what you would do is customize this page. And again, you can have different dashboards for different roles, and you can decide how those are going to look. And under Add a Block, we're now looking for Featured Links Block. And I think this just makes the platform a little bit more modern. You'll often see this in different LMSs. And you can have different tiles. So an instructional designer, I think, could make this look really good. So if I want to add a tile, I can have 3 choices: a static tile, a course tile, or a gallery tile. So what's the difference? In a course tile, you will, when you click that, you select your courses and it automatically knows what courses you have in the system, and it makes a tile for that. So if I wanted to name my featured links block new courses available, and then I could feature them, and that could show up on everybody's dashboard, for instance. That's maybe a use case. Another cool one is a static tile. Maybe you want to put in the URL of your help desk, and maybe you have an icon that you're going to put in there like get help now and put in that image, and then that tile will show and it'll be linkable, and when they click on it they can go immediately to fill out a help ticket. So that could be very cool, or whatever else you want it to be. You can also have gallery tiles that are also linkable, but maybe you have several images, like sign up for the conference, and you have 4 or 5 images that every few seconds show something else. And so you can make these, and then obviously with any block, let's go back to the dashboard, you can drag them around. So if I wanted this to be like almost like a banner at the top, mine isn't very pretty right now, but I think an instructional designer could really make this look great. Did I not? Oh, I actually put it on the side. Okay, so it could be a side and drag very well. I could make it the top banner. However I wanted to do that. So that's a brand new block that can work on dashboards. It can also work in courses. So if you wanted to do that within a course, that looks pretty cool too. Okay, next thing, I'm just checking if we have any questions, are badges. Okay, so Totara had badges that you can earn at the course level or the site level. So one thing that's changed in the open badges movement is that there used to be a backpack managed by something called Personas, which I believe had to do with Firefox. That's now changed, and so the platform the badges that you get in the platform also work in the open badges movement. And so to keep up with the change, you can still link to your backpack, but you have to set it up. So the user does. So the user would click on their profile picture in the upper right. They would go to Preferences, and here you have your backpack settings. Okay, and I first had to go to backpack@openbadges.org, which they give you here. And I had to set up an account. It won't work if you don't have an account. And then I had to put in my email that I'll be using, that all my badges will be stored under at this site, and I had to click Connect. Then I got a validation email, which I had to click, and then it said verifying for about 10 minutes, and now it says connected. Okay, so now my badges will go in here. So it's bigger than just Totara. And so my badges can follow me regardless of platform. Okay, so that's one change to keep up with the open badges movement. The other thing is at the site level, let's just go to badges. You can award badges in different ways now. So you can award them in a course for different things that they've done, maybe course completion, maybe a certain activity, a quiz, anything that you want. You could also do it at the site level for accomplishing different things too. Here's my badges. But if we go to add a new badge, so I'll just go to new options badge, and then you can choose an image. So it's going to force me to do that quick. So I'll pick something real fast. Anything in Totara with an asterisk you have to do. This may not be sized correctly, but we'll give it a shot. Okay, and then you have to put in the name of who's issuing it. This is not new. And then your email. And if it's ever going to expire, I think the default is never. And we create the badge. Okay, then, okay, practice. Sorry, that had a red asterisk, so I didn't follow my own directions. All right, boom. Okay, then once you have that part done, this wizard comes up and criteria. So now you can, completing a set of courses was there, profile completion, but you could also do, if they're part of an audience for some reason, they could get the badge. If they are part of a program that they completed, they can get a badge. And previously in Totara, those didn't exist. So those are two new badge issuing options at the site level. So awesome. Okay, now we're going to go into a course. And we're going to talk about changes at the course level that affect maybe more of a, that affect more of an instructional designer's role. So let's go to my What's New in Totara 10 course. Here we are. And one thing is self-completion has changed. So in the past, when you were setting up an activity, right, you could have students can manually mark this as complete, and then they could check the checkbox. And I think this is a good change. You can still do that, but also when they click on it, it says manually mark this activity when complete. I have completed the activity, because a lot of people didn't know that they were supposed to check that box. So when you choose in your activity settings that students can manually mark this, this message will now appear. And it's just more obvious what the student is supposed to do. So I think that's a good change. It won't work with the quiz or lessons, which sort of makes sense. You're probably not going to have somebody say, I finished the quiz. You probably want the system to track that they hit submit. And a lesson is another activity in Totara where users have to do certain things, often with a quiz embedded. So again, they really want you to do it and have the system track that, and not the user going, yep, I did it. So that's this manually mark when it's complete is new. Let's go back to the course and let's look at forums. There's some new features in forums. So I set up a forum, and the first thing is you can pin different discussions. So if there was something that you thought was really important that you want at the top for everybody to read, because sometimes important thoughts can get lost in the mass. If you have a big class, you can pin it or you can unpin it. So you can kind of feature different threads that are going on in the course. The other thing that you can do is when we are in the course settings and you are in the settings for the forum, you can set it so that if a discussion is no longer happening and it's just kind of gone dormant or dead, and those of you that teach courses may have had that happen and see why this may be useful to you, you could lock discussions after a certain period of inactivity. So if nobody has added anything in 3 months, we're going to lock it, and we're just going to say you can no longer add to that. You can read it, but you can't add to it. So there might be a use case. Obviously there is, or Totara wouldn't have done it. So people must have been asking for that. Okay. Another thing that you can do is we could always tag courses and things. Courses, blogs, comments are things that you could add tags to, and tags are useful because you could sort by content and find different things. It's just another way of organizing. And if we go to edit course now, these are the course settings. We have tags at the bottom. So now there's documentation on this, but you can have categories for your tags. And so that might be another way. If you have a lot of tags and you rely on this and you'd like to have your tags under different categories to help you find them, you can do that too now. And there's documentation on how to do that too. All right. Another big improvement is what's called the course completion editor. And let me see, completion editor now appears in the course admin settings. And this can be very helpful to instructors and for several reasons. So let's say I want to go to David Frame and I want to look at different things about his course completion. So it can tell me the time enrolled, what his completion status is, and he hasn't started, so none of this works. RPL has to do with if you import previous history, okay? And maybe he's completed it in a different system or something. And then all of the activities and what is and isn't completed, and any history. And the history is because I changed it to him being complete. Let's say he did this in another system and I just want to import the record that it's done, and so that it can be tracked and reports run on it. So that can be done. Here's the different criteria that was set. Here's the history. So history allowed me to go in here and manually add that he had completed the course. You could previously do that with a CSV upload. This works the same way, but it allows you to manually do it. I think transactions is everything that happened, so it shows when I went in and actually did that. I think I can go in here and edit. Let's give that a try. Individual activities. So maybe if I had to have it in, let's say they did a face-to-face and I observed them doing it, I could put now that this activity, I can put in the time. So I'm going to say the 6th. And so maybe this was done by observation as opposed to the online course. And I can say, yeah, and it gives me a little warning like, hey, this is going to change things if you do this. And that's fine. So now it's marked completed. So it gives instructors maybe more things to differentiate or to mark things done in a different way than solely through the completion course if they demonstrated proficiency in things in a different way. So that's new functionality that is there. Okay. those are kind of the new things in a course. Now we're moving to reports. Like I said, this is a long webinar because there's a lot of changes. So probably one that people will cheer for, although you could have done this in the report builder, is a lot of times I get the request, can we just print out a simple list of who's all on the site? And we used to be able to go to this enrolled users thing, but there was no way to export it, and it's now exportable. And it's now a report too. Oh, instead of, this is at the site level. I messed up. So let's back up. I thought it didn't look quite right. It's at the site level, right? If we want to know all about the users at a site level. So browse list of users would often have the info that people wanted, but they couldn't export it. Like if I just want to know who is in this site, or if I wanted to filter it in some way and send it out, you know, I couldn't do that before. And so now you can, which is huge. I got that request a lot. And then the other thing is now it's an embeddable report. So edit this report used to not be there, that button. A lot of Totara is reports that can be configured. So you can basically have a lot of input on how your platform looks, right? And what information is shown. So this is now an editable report if you're a site admin. And it actually brings up the report builder. And if I go to columns, for example, I can decide what columns, let's say, I want. And if there's some information that's not showing, I can pick something and show it, okay? And I could also have, just like everything else, I could filter it in different ways. I could schedule it. I could graph it, maybe, although I don't know if this is very graphical data. Maybe if I aggregated something in a certain way. How often it's going to run, who's going to have it. So all of that is now in a report, which you could have done probably if you were creative in the report builder. It just added functionality. So that's kind of nice. Another thing that makes the report builder a little bit better is if you go to site admin, how you got to your report builder is you went to reports. So let's just collapse that. You click on it. Now they've broken out things. It used to be one link, manage reports. Well, there's actually two types of reports, and they put these on separate pages now. Actually, there are several things on different pages. It used to be all in one. So you might have custom-made reports that you made with the report builder. You could also have all of the embedded reports that are already all over the site, like the one that we just looked at. And those are on two separate pages now. And they also have create report. You could also create report from this one too. So it's just a little bit easier, I think, to navigate and less confusing. And so that's a change. Now, there are two user reports, so I'm going to go to, I could either go there or I can go under my report tabs that I've created that have additional functionality. Well, one is brand new too. So there was one called the competency status report. So this report would show all of the competencies that are assigned to people and where they are on their journey of not competent to fully competent. And you can change your own scale too. Well, if we go here, what do I want to say about this one? They have a new field that you could add. It is the proficiency achieved date. So before, it would just tell you if they achieved a proficiency on a competency. Now we can get the date. And so you can add that one. When you go here, it was one of the choices and I added it. So that's brand new. It's probably people wanted that and asked to have it added. Okay. There is another brand new report, and it makes sense that it's new. And that's the job assignments. Job assignments started in Totara 9 and have carried over to Totara 10. Sort of like your position, but it's allows people to have multiple job assignments. So, and you might have multiple managers showing, overseeing different parts of your job. So as many corporations, you might wear multiple hats and it can track all of that. So now there's a report that has to do with that. So when you go to create a new report, what happens is when you can choose from different types of reports that you could create, job assignment now shows up, and it shows, you know, the different users and what jobs they have. Now let's say that David Frame had 3 job assignments. He would show up 3 times, and each time there would be a different assignment for him. I don't think I have any users that have more than 1 job assignment right now, but that is a brand new report that's available for you to customize and create. Okay, a lot of changes to the HR import that we had to kind of learn the hard way. I'll admit it wasn't real intuitive. So hopefully we can save you some things. This was in the documentation and I haven't had a chance to use it yet, but all over Totara, there are many places where you can add custom fields. Your profile and certifications, let's say you needed a certification number required and you're going to import certifications from another system, you can create a custom field for that. So again, I like the platform because it's so flexible and you can make it meet your organization. Well, now they've added the ability. You could import data from these custom fields before. That worked. But some of the custom fields, let's say it's check all that apply is the type of field that it is, and there might be multiple answers. You can now import those types of custom fields with a CSV file. You just have to separate them with a comma and use single quotes around the value. And that is in the documentation that I'll send you. One thing that's sort of hidden in the documentation, it is there, but it's kind of confusing. In Totara 9, they introduced this whole idea of jobs that I was talking about. But you could upload a CSV file with the user data plus their job data, and you would have job 1 because they could have a job 2 and a job 3, and you would put that job title in there and manager 1, which would be who's the manager for job 1 and so on, and you could upload that all in one CSV file. That is now has to be separated. So if you go to, if you're uploading CSV files or if you're automating things, which we often do, that's another service that we provide. We can write scripts and help automate with other systems. So under HR import, there it is at the bottom, you have different elements. So why don't I go to that screen? Before, I could put my job assignments and upload it with the user. Now they're separated and they have to be 2 CSV files. Now, you can enable or disable these different things, and that's sort of important. So we ran into a glitch, which we later found was a documented bug. And that glitch is if you're going to do the job assignment and the user, and you're going to do them at the same time, so they're both enabled. If there's an error in one, let's say you have an error in your user, somebody has a hyphenated last name or something, or a capital in their username and it doesn't work. then jobs won't get assigned to all the users, not just that one, but to everybody. So let's say you put a CSV in here and a CSV in here, and you went to HR import, and all of a sudden all your users went in, but nobody has job assignments. It's probably because there was an error in the CSV file for user, let's say. So there is a workaround that we figured out, and that's disable one of these, just do the user, then enable this one and just do the job and disable user, and that will work. It's sort of clunky that way, but that does work. Let's see. Then let's see, these organization and position, you can, you don't have to do all of them at the same time, okay? And in the settings, there's an important setting here. Source contains all records. If we had set this to no, we could have uploaded without their organization. And organization often means that's what the organization hierarchy, if you're new, like what department they're in, might be how you have that set up. Or position, maybe you're an accountant, which could be a little different than your job assignment. And then you can do these separately. So if you have that set to no, what you can do is just put in your user data and maybe your job assignment. Then at a later time, you can, without any problems, just put in their position and it'll update their user information, or just put their place in an organization. Another service is if you need help with this, we can help as a service, or if you're a client, we can help you. We might do a future webinar on this, because I do think it is a little bit hard to learn on your own, and you might benefit from what are the steps of getting data in. We've got it pretty well perfected, but yeah, I think some things could have been documented a little bit better with this new upgrade, and I bet maybe as we see 10.1, 10.2, this might improve a little bit. The last thing is kind of an exciting thing. It existed in Moodle, and now they've added it to Totara, and that's called user tours. And I have a test one set up. I'm going to go to a different user so we can see it. That allows you to, have you ever seen built-in help where different dialog boxes show up when people click on things? That can work now. So I'm going to go into one of my test users here and log in as them and go into a course. Okay, it should work for me. So let's go into a course and see if it shows up. No, oh no, maybe because I was testing in this one. Let's try this one. Nope, okay, dashboard. No, okay. What should have happened, and what did when I was testing, but I think I tested them all and I already X'd out of them, is I had a little welcome to this class message that appeared. And so you can set up these user tours, and we're going to have a webinar in them coming up. That's our next webinar and how to do it. And you can have just different built-in help and paths that are set up. Now, there are some already, like a repository where you can download them and import them from Moodle. Usually they work. Sometimes if there's certain functionality that's different in Totara, they do warn you it might not work, so you want to test them. But you can also write your own, and that's pretty exciting. So that'll be our next webinar. Sorry, I already used. Let's try it one more time with a different user that maybe I didn't test with, and see if I can get it working. Oh, here it is. So I made this one, and then they can go to the next thing and the next thing, or end the tour. So that did work when they went to this page. So you can have different paths of what's going to happen, and sort of built-in help and help guide your users that way. those are the new features of Totara 10. Thanks so much for joining today. I just want to point out a couple different things. Our next webinar is on user tours, and that'll be kind of exciting. And it can work for Moodle or Totara. If you go to EClassforLearning.com and you go to webinars, there's a Save Your Seat, and that's on December 14th, same time. Okay, that can work. The other thing I wanted to point out real quickly, I've been getting a lot of questions about our onboarding and support options, and I know a lot of you are going to be implementing Totara soon. We do have a package that we usually use or start out with new clients, and if you're not a client and you don't host with us but want to have a package, it's just with your organization. So it isn't like you're stuck in a whole group of people, and it's customized to your organization. So it consists of 10 hours of consulting, and that's where we talk a lot about what kind of reports, what kind of information, how you want to push out learning, things like that. And then we help you map out your hierarchies. We help with the HR import and getting everything in that you might need, or help with understanding how to interface with your external systems. Now, if you become a client and you buy the Totara subscription with us and host, a lot of this might, depending on how we negotiate, would be kind of in here. But if you want to do this as a standalone, you can. Then we do site admin training for the site administrators. You can have as many site administrators on as you want. These are done through webinar. We have a shorter training for managers, especially if you're doing appraisals, 360 feedback, the different alerts, their settings, how to manage learning plans, things like that. And so people that are going to be managers in the system. We have one for course designers. If you are creating courses and you're new to the Totara environment, and maybe you're working with SCORM, and how do you get that in, and how does the whole process work, we help course designers with that. And then usually in the end of our implementation, we like to make a new user, like the employee level, a quick orientation video, because what happens is everybody's site looks different and has different functions enabled and different workflows. And if you have a generic one, it may not apply to your specific settings and site. So it looks exactly like your site, and it tells users how to get started. Usually they're under 4 minutes. And you can send that out, and it shows them how to log in, what they're going to see on their dashboard, how to access learning plans, courses, those kinds of things. So we'd love to help any organization, even if you're not a client and you feel like you need a little more hand-holding. That's something I've been getting a lot of questions about, and I'd love to talk to you. The package can be customized if you already don't need the course designer because you know how to do that, or you only need the site admin training. We're happy to make it work whatever you need for your organization. Or if you just have one specific use case that you need consulting on, we can do that too. So just wanted to put that out there. So thanks so much for joining us. We made it in an hour. It was a lot of features. If you have additional questions, please send those to me, and I will email you back, and I'll send the link with all the documentation on all of this, plus the recording. And with that, I hope you have a good rest of the afternoon.